What if I told you that the reality you live in is only half of the truth? There's hidden wisdom, ancient knowledge, that holds the key to unlocking everything you've ever dreamed of. Health, success, happiness, fulfillment. And the wildest part? This knowledge has been in front of us for centuries, waiting to be rediscovered. I know it sounds like a lot to take in, but stay with me, because what we're about to dive into is far more powerful than just philosophy. This isn't a forgotten relic of the past. This is something that has shaped the minds of some of the greatest thinkers in history. It's called Hermeticism, and once you understand its principles, you will never look at your life the same way again. Hermeticism isn't a series of cryptic teachings locked away in ancient texts. It's a blueprint for mastering reality itself. Throughout the ages, it has influenced some of the most brilliant minds. People like Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, and Carl Jung. These were not just ordinary geniuses who happened to stumble into greatness. They tapped into something deeper, something universal. But here's the exciting part. Hermeticism is not just for the elite or for secret societies. It's for you. It's for me. And the wisdom it offers has been hiding in plain sight all along. What if everything in your life that you believed was fixed, your relationships, your finances, your personal struggles, wasn't? What if these aspects of your reality could be transformed completely? Hermeticism has the power to do that, but only if you're open to it, if you're ready to see things from a new perspective. I know you're probably wondering, okay, but what exactly is Hermeticism? Great question. We'll get to that soon. But first, let me build a little suspense. This knowledge, though powerful, can be misunderstood, and when it's used without understanding, it may not work in your favor. However, when applied correctly, it's like unlocking a door to a completely new version of yourself. A version that's in sync with the natural laws of the universe. This isn't about abstract theory. This is about living these principles and seeing real, meaningful changes in your life. The teachings of Hermeticism aren't confined to monks on mountaintops or scholars in dusty libraries. They are woven into everything you do. The way you think, the way you interact with the world, and the way you create your reality. And once you recognize them, you'll realize just how much control you truly have over your life. Think about this. If great minds like Da Vinci and Newton turned to this ancient wisdom to unlock their own potential, what could it mean for you? What could you accomplish if you could tap into the universe's hidden code? Patterns that run beneath the surface of everything. We're not talking about magic here, though it might feel like it. We're talking about universal truths, laws that govern everything around us, whether we're aware of them or not. And when you learn to work with these laws, life takes on a whole new dimension. Hermeticism is built on 7 core principles, 7 universal truths that explain everything from the workings of the cosmos to the thoughts in your head. These principles have been around for thousands of years and have stood the test of time. And they hold the key to reshaping your reality. Ready to dive in? Let's go step by step through this ancient wisdom, and you'll see just how relevant it is to the modern world we live in today. So what is Hermeticism, really? At its core, Hermeticism is an ancient system of knowledge that teaches how the universe operates and how you can align with it. It's not a complex, confusing belief system designed to keep you out of the loop. Quite the opposite. Hermeticism is practical, direct, and, when understood, completely life-changing. To fully grasp Hermeticism, we need to travel back to ancient Egypt. The roots of this wisdom go back thousands of years, to a figure known as Hermes Trismegistus. The name Trismegistus means thrice great Hermes, and he's said to be a fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, who was the god of wisdom, writing, and magic. According to legend, Hermes Trismegistus wasn't just a man. He was a sage, a teacher, and even a messenger of the gods. His teachings, recorded in the Hermetic corpus, lay the foundation for Hermeticism. These teachings are more than just ancient myths. They are practical insights into the nature of reality itself. The Hermetic corpus contains what we now know as the 7 Hermetic Principles, which explain the fundamental laws of the universe and how everything, yes, everything, is connected. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. These principles aren't just relics from a long-lost civilization. They've influenced some of the greatest minds in history. Leonardo da Vinci, the man who painted the Mona Lisa and envisioned inventions centuries ahead of his time, is heavily influenced by Hermetic ideas. Isaac Newton, who revolutionized science, spent more time studying alchemy and Hermetic philosophy than he did developing the laws of gravity. Even Carl Jung, the father of modern psychology, drew heavily from Hermetic teachings in his exploration of the human mind. These weren't people who casually dabbled in Hermeticism. They dedicated large portions of their lives to understanding these principles. Isaac Newton, for instance, believed that Hermeticism held the key to understanding not just the physical world, but the metaphysical world as well. So why did they keep coming back to this ancient wisdom? Why did they think these principles could unlock the mysteries of the universe? And why have we, in today's modern world, overlooked something that these great minds found so valuable? In a time when our lives are dominated by technology, instant information, and the relentless pace of modern living, it's easy to dismiss ancient teachings as outdated or irrelevant. But here's the kicker. Science, technology, and philosophy are not separate from Hermeticism. They are part of it. Hermeticism doesn't contradict the modern world. It enhances it. It shows us that beneath all the complexity of the universe, there is a simple, elegant order. And when you understand that order, you gain incredible power over your life. The 7 Hermetic Principles aren't locked away in the past. They are universal truths, woven into the fabric of reality itself. They teach us how to understand not just the physical world, but our mental, emotional, and spiritual worlds as well. And the best part? These principles are available to anyone who is willing to open their mind and look deeper. Let's dive into the 7 Hermetic Principles, the core teachings that have the potential to completely shift your perspective on life, the universe, and everything in between. These principles aren't just philosophical ideas to think about. They are laws of nature, woven into the fabric of reality. And once you understand them, you can start using them to shape your own reality. We'll take this step by step. These principles have been around for thousands of years, but they are surprisingly simple to grasp. And once you do, it's like the pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place. You'll start to see how everything is connected. 1. Mentalism. Everything begins in the mind. This is where it all starts. The principle of mentalism tells us that the universe, at its core, is mental. Everything is mind. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions are literally shaping your reality every single second of the day. Think about it. Every situation you've been through, every success, every failure, it all started in your mind. The way you think about the world and about yourself creates the lens through which you experience life. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, guess what? Your reality will mirror that belief. But if you believe you have the power to change, to grow, and to achieve anything, your world will start to reflect that belief. Here's a simple example. Have you ever had one of those days where you wake up in a bad mood and everything seems to go wrong? You spill your coffee, hit traffic, get into an argument, like a snowball of negativity. That's mentalism at work. Your state of mind influences what you notice and how you react, creating a feedback loop that reinforces your original mood. Now imagine starting your day with the mindset that things are going to work out in your favor. That simple shift can completely change your experience. This isn't just about positive thinking, it's about understanding that your mind shapes your reality. 2. Correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. This principle teaches us that what happens within you is mirrored outside of you. Your inner world reflects your outer world, and vice versa. As above, so below means that everything in the universe is interconnected, and the patterns you see on one level are repeated on others. Here's an easy way to picture it. Think of your life as a mirror. If you're feeling stressed and anxious on the inside, that's what you'll see reflected in your environment. Chaos, tension, misunderstandings. On the flip side, when you cultivate peace, joy, and confidence within yourself, your outer world starts to align with that energy. For example, I used to feel stuck in my career. I wasn't happy with where I was, but I couldn't seem to break through the barriers holding me back. Then I realized something important. I was carrying around this belief that I wasn't worthy of success. And because of that, every job I took, every project I worked on, reflected that inner belief. Once I started shifting my mindset, focusing on my worth and what I had to offer, things changed. Doors that were once closed started opening, and opportunities came out of nowhere. That's correspondence in action. 3. Vibration. Everything vibrates. Principle of vibration tells us that everything in the universe vibrates. Nothing is at rest. Everything is constantly moving. This includes you. The important part? Your vibration affects what you attract into your life. High vibrations like love, joy, and gratitude attract more positive experiences. Low vibrations like fear, anger, and resentment draw in negativity. This is why people talk about vibes. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt uncomfortable, like the energy was just off? Or met someone who radiated positivity and just being around them made you feel better? That's vibration at work. You can raise your own vibration by practicing gratitude. I know it sounds simple, but gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to shift your frequency. Every morning, try writing down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Sometimes I just write that I'm grateful for my morning coffee or a sunny day, but what it does is shift your vibration to a higher state, and from there, life just flows a little easier. 4. Polarity. Everything has its opposite. Principle of polarity teaches us that everything has its opposite. Hot and cold, light and dark, good and evil. These aren't separate things. They're 2 extremes of the same thing. And here's where it gets interesting. You can shift from one pole to the other. You have the power to change how you perceive things. For example, think about a situation that frustrates you. Maybe you're stuck in traffic and it's making you angry. But if you shift your perception, you can choose to see it differently. Maybe that traffic is giving you extra time to listen to a podcast or reflect on your day. The situation didn't change, but your perception did. Polarity teaches us that we have the power to move between these poles and find balance. 5. Rhythm. Everything moves in cycles. The principle of rhythm tells us that life moves in cycles. There are highs and lows, peaks and valleys, and everything flows like a pendulum. Sometimes we're riding high. Everything's going our way. Other times, we feel stuck in a low. But the important thing to remember is that this is natural. The lows don't last forever, and neither do the highs. Here's a little secret. When you're in a low, instead of fighting it, try embracing it. Use that time to rest, reflect, and recharge. And when the high comes back around, as it always does, be ready to act, to create, and to move forward with purpose. Understanding this rhythm helps you flow with life rather than resist it. And 6. Cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. The principle of cause and effect teaches us that nothing happens by accident. Every action has a reaction. Every cause has an effect. This is the foundation of karma, and the idea that what you put out into the world comes back to you. But it's not just about the big things. Every little decision you make, every habit you form, it's creating ripples in your life. Think of it this way. If you make a habit of eating healthy and exercising regularly, you're setting up the causes that lead to good health. If you constantly procrastinate and put off important tasks, you're creating the effects of stress and last-minute scrambles. It's all connected, and the power is in your hands to choose the causes that shape the effects you want. 7. Gender. Masculine and feminine energies exist in all of us. Principle of gender teaches us that masculine and feminine energies exist in all of us, regardless of gender. Masculine energy is active, assertive, and goal-oriented. Feminine energy is receptive, intuitive, and nurturing. Both are essential, and both work together to create balance in our lives. Key is to recognize which energy is dominant in different areas of your life and find balance. Sometimes you need to push forward with masculine energy, taking decisive action. Other times, you need to step back, reflect, and let things unfold naturally, embracing the feminine. Both are powerful, and when you learn to use them in harmony, you can create anything you desire. Why it matters today. Now that we've walked through the 7 Hermetic Principles, you might be thinking, this sounds cool, but why should I care? How does this ancient wisdom actually apply to my life today? Well, here's the thing. It couldn't be more relevant. In fact, I'd argue that understanding these principles is more important today than ever before. We're living in a world where people feel more disconnected than ever. Disconnected from themselves, from each other, and from the very universe that surrounds them. Stress, anxiety, uncertainty. They've become the norm, not the exception. We're bombarded with information, but most of it leaves us feeling even more lost, like we're just drifting without any real direction. But what if the answers we've been searching for have always been there, just waiting for us to remember? That's where Hermeticism comes in. These principles aren't just some mystical, ancient teachings. They're a map. They're a guide to help us find our way back to balance, understanding how life really works, and to creating a reality that's in harmony with our deepest desires. Let's break it down. How can these principles help us in today's fast-paced, often overwhelming world? Let's start with the principle of mentalism. In today's world, stress and anxiety are at an all-time high. The pressure to perform, to succeed, keep up with life can feel overwhelming. But what if I told you that much of this stress starts in your mind? Think about it. How many times have you been stressed about something that hasn't even happened yet? You imagine the worst-case scenario, and suddenly your heart is racing, your mind is scattered, and you're filled with worry. That's mentalism at work. Your thoughts are shaping your reality, even if it's a reality that hasn't actually come to pass. The solution? Becoming aware of your thoughts and how they're influencing your emotions and actions. By applying mentalism, you learn that you can shift your thinking. You're not at the mercy of every negative thought that pops into your head. You can choose to focus on what you want, on positive outcomes, and watch how your external reality begins to shift in response. It's not just positive thinking for the sake of it. It's about using the natural laws of the universe to create a reality that works for you, not against you. Now let's look at correspondence. In today's world, we're more connected than ever. Social media, messaging apps, constant communication. Yet so many people feel lonely, disconnected. Relationships can feel shallow, and many of us struggle to find meaningful connections with others. But what does correspondence teach us? As within, so without. Our relationships, our interactions with others, are often a reflection of what's going on inside us. If you find yourself in constant conflict, struggling with difficult relationships, the first place to look is within. How are you feeling about yourself? What beliefs are you holding about others? Are you projecting insecurity, fear, or anger? Correspondence shows us that if we want to change the way others treat us, we have to start by changing our own internal world. Here's a practical example. If you're feeling constantly misunderstood or undervalued in your relationships, it might be because you're carrying beliefs that say, "I'm not good enough," or "people never see my worth." The outside world is simply reflecting that back to you. But once you shift those internal beliefs, once you start valuing yourself and believing that you deserve to be heard, you'll be amazed at how your relationships begin to change. People respond to the energy you put out, and correspondence is the mirror that shows you exactly what that energy looks like. Next, let's talk about vibration and how it can help you manage the stress and chaos of modern life. We live in a world of constant motion. Everyone's busy, rushing from one thing to the next, rarely taking a moment to breathe. And what happens when we operate at this frantic pace? Our vibration drops. We end up vibrating at a low frequency, filled with stress, frustration, and exhaustion. But here's the thing. Everything vibrates, including you. And if you can learn to manage your vibration, you can transform how you experience life. It's as simple as taking small steps to raise your vibration each day. How? By practicing gratitude, like we talked about earlier, or by engaging in activities that bring you joy. Even something as simple as listening to your favorite music or taking a walk in nature to help raise your frequency. When you're vibrating at a higher level, you're less affected by the negativity around you. The stress of work, the pressures of daily life, they don't weigh you down in the same way. You're more in tune with positive outcomes, and you attract experiences that match your elevated frequency. Now let's take a look at the principle of polarity. Today we live in a world of extremes. Everything feels polarized. Politics, opinions, social issues. It's like we're constantly being pulled in opposite directions. forced to choose one side or the other. But polarity teaches us that opposites are just two extremes of the same thing, and that true wisdom comes from understanding both sides and finding balance. This principle is incredibly helpful in navigating today's chaotic landscape. Instead of being caught in the trap of good versus bad, right versus wrong, or us versus them, polarity encourages us to find the middle ground, to recognize that life isn't black and white, it's a spectrum. By embracing both sides of any situation, you free yourself from the constant tension and find a deeper sense of peace. The principle of rhythm is something that can truly change the way you handle life's ups and downs. We've all been there. Things are going great, and then suddenly it all seems to fall apart. Or you're in a low period, feeling stuck, and wondering if things will ever get better. Rhythm teaches us that life moves in cycles. The highs and lows are natural, and they will always come and go. Once you understand this, you stop fighting against the lows, and instead learn to ride them out. This is particularly important in today's world where instant gratification is the norm. We expect things to always be good, and when they're not, we feel like something's gone wrong. But rhythm reminds us that nothing stays the same forever. The lows are just as important as the highs. They give us space to reflect, to learn, and to grow. And when the highs return, we're ready to make the most of them. The principle of cause and effect is the principle that governs how we create success in our modern lives. In a world that's constantly telling us to work harder, do more, and hustle, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that every action we take sets off a chain of events. What you do today creates the outcomes you experience tomorrow. This principle teaches us that nothing happens by chance. If you want to see change in your life, you have to create it. Whether it's in your career, your health, or your personal growth, the actions you take, no matter how small, set the wheels of cause and effect into motion. Key is to take intentional, purposeful action. It doesn't have to be grand gestures. Small and consistent actions compound over time to create massive change. Finally, we come to the principle of gender, which is all about the balance between masculine and feminine energy. In today's world, we often focus too much on action and achievement, the masculine side of life, while neglecting the feminine aspects like intuition, reflection, and creativity. But if we want to live fully, we need both. Creativity, for instance, thrives when we balance these energies. The masculine energy drives us to take action, to build, to achieve. The feminine energy allows us to receive inspiration, to nurture ideas, and to be patient as they develop. When we're too focused on doing, we burn out. But when we bring the feminine energy into balance, we create space for ideas to grow naturally. And in that space, true innovation happens. Here's the truth. It's not enough to just know this. The power of Hermeticism isn't in the theory, it's in the practice. You can understand these principles in your head all day long, but until you start living them, you won't see the changes you're looking for. Hermeticism is a roadmap, but you've got to be willing to walk the path. So how do you take these ancient principles and apply them in your everyday life? Let's break it down with some simple, practical ways you can start using these teachings today. Everything begins in the mind. Principle of mentalism teaches us that the universe is mental. Our thoughts shape our reality. This means that to change your life, you need to start by changing your mindset. Here's an easy way to put this into practice. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into negative thoughts, whether it's about your job, your relationships, or just your day in general, pause. Take a deep breath and consciously shift your thoughts to something positive. Even if the situation feels tough, ask yourself, what's one thing I can appreciate right now? This small shift in focus can start to reshape how you experience the situation. I've had to apply this myself many times. I remember a phase in my life where I felt completely overwhelmed by work. My thoughts were all over the place, filled with anxiety and doubt. I kept thinking, I'm not going to get this done, or I'm failing at this. But then I realized I was creating that reality. My stress was coming from my mindset, not the actual workload. So I made a conscious decision to focus on solutions, to think, I've got this, I'll find a way. Almost immediately, I felt lighter, more focused, and the tasks didn't seem so overwhelming. That's the power of mentalism in action. Now let's look at correspondence. As within, so without. What you feel inside reflects what you experience outside. If you want to attract more positivity into your life, start by cultivating gratitude. It's one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to shift your inner world. Here's a quick exercise. Each morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be huge. Sometimes I'm just grateful for my morning coffee or a good night's sleep. But here's what happens. When you focus on what's going well, your external world starts to reflect that same energy. You'll notice more things to be thankful for, and opportunities seem to appear where there were none before. It's not magic. Correspondence. In my own life, I've noticed that whenever I'm feeling stuck or frustrated, a simple act of pausing and listing things I'm grateful for can break the cycle. It shifts my inner state, and soon enough, I see solutions and new possibilities that weren't there before. As within, so without. It works every time. Everything vibrates. And when you're vibrating at a higher frequency, you're more aligned with positivity, joy, and abundance. The easiest way to raise your vibration? Positive thinking. One method that works wonders is using affirmations. Every morning or whenever you feel your energy dropping, repeat affirmations that resonate with you. Phrases like, I am capable, I attract positive experiences, or I am in harmony with the universe. These words, when repeated consistently, can shift your vibration to a higher frequency. Here's the thing. When you vibrate higher, life flows more smoothly. Have you ever noticed how on days when you're feeling great, everything seems to go your way? That's because you're vibrating at a frequency that attracts those positive experiences. I've found that even when things aren't going perfectly, raising my vibration by focusing on the good keeps me in a state of flow, and the challenges I face don't feel nearly as heavy. Life is full of opposites, joy and pain, success and failure, high and low. The principle of polarity teaches us that both ends of the spectrum are part of the same whole. Rhythm reminds us that life moves in cycles. Embracing these truths is key to finding peace in both the good times and the bad. When you face a challenge, instead of resisting it, try to see it as part of the rhythm of life. The lows help you appreciate the highs. Personally, I've had moments where everything felt like it was falling apart. Business setbacks, personal struggles. But instead of letting myself get consumed by frustration, I've learned to accept those moments as part of the process. I remind myself, this is temporary. Pendulum will swing back. And guess what? It always does. By embracing both sides, the highs and the lows, you stop fearing the difficult moments. You start seeing them as opportunities for growth. That's how you turn life's challenges into stepping stones for your next success. Practicing Hermeticism doesn't require you to change your entire life overnight. It's about integrating these principles into the way you think, feel, and act every day. When you make these small shifts, the effects ripple through every area of your life. Before you know it, you'll begin to see the world and yourself different. A final thought. Here's the thing. The universe is always communicating with you. It's speaking to you through your thoughts, your emotions, people you meet, and even the situations you face. The question is, are you really listening? Most of us move through life without recognizing the signs, the patterns, or the deeper messages the universe is trying to send us. And that's where Hermeticism comes in. By tapping into this ancient wisdom, you're not just learning a set of principles. You're learning how to tune into the frequency of the universe. You're learning to work with the natural laws rather than against them. And when you do that, you unlock a level of personal power that's been inside you all along. The life you truly want? It's within your reach. Whether it's more peace, better relationships, or greater success, Hermeticism gives you the tools to create it. But remember, knowledge alone isn't enough. You have to practice it. It's about putting these principles into action, day by day, step by step. And as you do, you'll start to see your life change in ways you never thought possible. With that said, it's time to stop waiting and start living with purpose. The universe is ready to work with you. You just need to take the first step. You have the tools now. It's your turn to use them.